Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV, as I am flying solo today, looking back at Bristol Rovers, the defeat on Tuesday, and then ahead to nice easy one at the weekend. We are going along with 500 other Gills fans or so to Kenilworth Park for a match day live where we take on league leaders Luton Town, runaway leaders Luton Town, the juggernaut that is Luton Town. But back to Tuesday evening first. A disappointing, frustrating, annoying 1-0 defeat settled by Johnson Clark Harris's goal of the season contender. An absolute howitzer of a strike. Yes, Darren Oldaker, who we shall talk about more in a little while, doesn't cover himself in glory, unfortunately, and tries to step in and nick it, and he doesn't, and then he's the wrong side of play, and Johnson Clark Harris from there turns as a touch and gets it out his feet, and it's an absolute rocket, straight as a die, right into the top corner from about 25-30 yards. Really good goal, deserves to win any game. But yeah, just felt that there was something missing with your performance. Not for want of effort or anything, but there was a couple of times where we actually got good delivery into the box, which wasn't the norm, unfortunately. And players seemed to be on their back foot all the time, or not on their toes and not anticipating stuff, which was a little bit annoying. But by all means, it wasn't a disaster of a performance. It wasn't great. At the same time, it was a middle of the road type display, and for all the world, it had 0-0 written all over it until Mr. Clark Harris decided to wallop one in the top bins. But just a little bit disappointed with some Gills fans in terms of the overreaction. It wasn't a good performance, I get that. But suddenly it's Lovell out again after one average display and a poor result. You have to remember that since the transfer window and since Gabriel Zakwani was ruled out for the rest of the season, and there were plenty of Gills fans were tweeting announced relegation and as such, we've been decent. We'd won 3 games out of 5 prior to Tuesday night. We'd kept 3 clean sheets, and we'd been good. We'd been really good. It was a decent run, and we were picking up points at home and away. And you have to remember that 99 times out of 100, that shot from Johnson Clark Harris ends up in the Brian Moore stand. It's the one night where it flies in the net, and if we'd drawn 0-0, it would have been a decent return from the 2 home games, 4 points, 2 clean sheets. I think everyone would have been happy, but all of a sudden we're the worst football team in the world again, and I just don't understand that. But yeah, I mean, everyone's entitled to the opinion. I get that entirely. But just a little bit frustrated with what I read on social media. There's too many that seem to only pipe up or post on social media when they want to have a dig or want to have a pop at players or have a pop at the manager. And like I said, prior to Tuesday night, we'd won 3 out of 5, and the only defeat in that time had been to high-flying Sunderland, who we'd given a real good account of ourselves up there as well at the stadium and like. So people are entitled to moan, like I say, I get that, but why not tweet or post on Facebook or comment on everything when we're getting good results as well? Why only feel the need to become vocal when you want to just be negative? I don't understand that. Yes, it wasn't great Tuesday, and it was a similar performance to last Saturday at home to Oxford, and it was 2 teams that are in a relegation battle, so there's going to be nerves, and there's going to be an element of teams not wanting to make mistakes. You don't want to be an individual who costs your side a goal and that type of thing, so they're not going to be thrillers, are they? But everyone still thinks we're going to go out and score 4 and 5 and make 30, 40 chances every game. We're not, and that's why we're 17th in League One at the moment. Fine lines is a thing I've used a lot during the week, and I've tweeted it and spoken about it on Facebook, and we came out the right side of the fine lines on Saturday with a decent goal from Brandon Hanlon right at the end to nick the points, and unfortunately we've come out on the wrong side of it on Tuesday because they've scored a really good goal. But yeah, it's disappointing that we go again Saturday at, sorry for coining that phrase, but if we'd won, obviously, then Saturday would have become a free swing against Luton, I think is what I'm trying to say. But now we maybe have to go up there and then go to Wimbledon the Saturday after and try and pick up some points. But I don't think this squad, you can ever fault them for effort. And I see that bandied about quite a bit as well. I don't think that's the case. I just think at times we're not as good as other teams. And Darren Oldaker's young, and we'll get onto him, like I say. But let's have a look at Luke Cordell's final paragraph in the match result, and he sums up what I've already said. He's got one paragraph midway through his report, and he says the winning goal was the only moment of real quality in the game from either team. Had 0-0 written all over it, didn't it? Unfortunately, Johnson Clark-Harris has probably hit the best shot he's ever hit in his life, so can't change it now. We move on to Saturday and we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, and we try and devise a plan to go and take something off Luton Town. It's going to be hard, we know that, and there's very few teams that have taken points off Luton Town this season. So if we go up there and we do get beat, then so be it. But as long as we roll our sleeves up and put in a shift and do all we can to influence the game and affect the game, then that's all we can ask of the boys, the 11 that are out there and those that come off the bench. But final paragraph from Luke said, Gillingham aren't ruthless enough at the minute and they need to start testing opposition keepers more. Maybe they should take a leaf out of Clark-Harris's book. While one of his speculative efforts flew well wide, another hit the top corner. Perhaps there is a case for that. We seem to be a little bit scared of shooting at the moment. There wasn't a great deal to talk about in terms of clear-cut chances for us on Tuesday. There was Brandon Hanlon done well to create himself some space, maybe could have squared it, but he'd scored on the Saturday, and I'm not going to begrudge him having a shot, but he didn't quite get enough on it, and the keeper smothered it quite comfortably. Yeah, but that's enough probably about Tuesday. Just that thing again is balance. Beginning of the season, we was trying to play on the front foot, conceding far too many. Last half a dozen games, we've tightened it up defensively, kept 3 clean sheets in 6 games. In the other 2 games, we've only conceded once. Sunderland had to rely on 2 penalties against us. So yeah, there's definitely improvements in terms of shutting up shop at that end, but it seems to have taken something away from us moving the other way. And in terms of shots on target, there wasn't loads Saturday and Tuesday, but would we really have cared if we'd picked up a point on Tuesday to take 4 from 6? No. But suddenly it's a big issue again, and it is something that needs addressing, of course. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we've lost on Tuesday night and now we're definitely getting relegated again, because it's not that. There's still plenty of games and there's still plenty of points to play for, and I'm still confident that we'll get enough to get over that magic 50-point mark. So here's what it is. People have different opinions on things. But yeah, moving on to Saturday, Steve Lovell again talks on the back page of Thursday's Medway Messenger. Sticking to his guns is the headline. And the quote coming up on your screen now is from Steve Lovell. He says, if you go there and park the bus and they score early on, it changes your plan, so what's the point? I trust my players. I think he's spot on in terms of there's no point us going there and playing 5 at the back and 2 holding midfielders and 1 up top and trying to soak up loads of pressure and maybe pinching a point, because I don't think we're capable of doing that. And that's not any disrespect to us or anything negative towards us in terms of saying we can't see out that game plan, but Luton are absolutely flying. We'll get onto their squad depth and their unbeaten runs and what they're doing at the moment in a little while, but anyone who follows League One, they're top of the league. They're top of the league for a reason. They were absolutely superb at our place back in November. They score good goals. They play good football. They're strong defensively. Nathan Jones has done an excellent job there. And then he's moved on to Stoke in the Championship. You thought maybe it might take a little time. There might be a couple of weeks where you think Mick Arthur's come in on a caretaker basis, I think, till the end of the season, and they might, you know, it might affect them. It hasn't at all. Well, they've drawn a couple of games recently, so if that's a crisis, then I wish we was in crisis with drawing 2 games. But they're a very good side at this level. They're going to be in the Championship next season, make no bones about it, whether that's as champions or runners-up. I don't think they'll drop into the playoffs. They're an excellent side, one of the best to watch, and it's going to be really hard on Saturday. But yeah, we might as well go there and have a go. If we can be on the front foot and we can pinch the first one, you never know. Coventry went there with a game plan a few weeks ago and ended up with a point. I would sit here now, and if anyone offered it to me, I'd bite their arm off. A point would be a monumental result at Kenilworth Road. But yeah, we know the task at hand, and it's going to be really, really tough. But yeah, just moving on, another thing about Steve Lovell and also Darren Oldaker. I had an interesting chat on Twitter yesterday with Boz and Stocky from us, and also James and Reese from the Factory Chat regarding what some have perceived to be out of order comments from Steve Lovell in the press. So I'm going to show you a quote now, coming up on your screen. And that is Steve Lovell talking about Darren Oldaker and his performance during the week in the defeat to Bristol Rovers. Darren Oldaker came back into the side. He said, "I will have a chat with him. He's a young lad. I wanted him to get on the ball, take control and pass it, which he has done in the past. I just felt he was a little bit nervous. He played that way and that wasn't like DJ can play out there. Perhaps it was my fault for playing him, but I had confidence in him to go out and do it." He then goes on to say, "He has the talent, no doubt. He has done it for us in the past and will do it in the future." For me, I'll be quite honest, and I had a disagreement with Boz, and I think Reese as well, and James, and Stocky was, I think, busy working, so he didn't really get involved too much. But I don't think there's anything untoward in Steve Lovell's comments here. He's come out and said some weird things in the press at points this season, and I've jumped on his back and said, I think that's out of order, keep it in-house. But I don't think he's berating DJ too much here. He's not said he's going to drag him into his office and reprimand him and find him a week's wages or whatever. And I've seen words going, I think James used the word battering, and I thought, not really. And we have to remember that Darren Oldaker, yes, he's still young and he's still learning his trade, but he's been in and around a first-team squad now for 4 seasons. So in terms of whatever you want to call it, preferential treatment or looking after him with kid gloves or cotton wool and that type of thing, I think he's past that stage. And I don't think the comments that Steve Lovell's made are out of order in any way, to be quite honest. Boz wasn't happy with it, and I know Reese didn't see it as a great statement to make in terms of if he was Darren Oldaker and he'd heard that Steve Lovell didn't trust him or whatever. But I don't think Steve Lovell's done it in that way. In fact, I think that Lovell, by saying he takes the blame for playing DJ in a game like that, I don't think he's saying that's in any detriment to DJ Oldaker. I just think he's trying to deflect away from the performance. And I think DJ's big enough to realise that he weren't great on Tuesday night, and rightly he was hooked. I think he's at fault for the goal. But to be quite honest, I think we're getting a little bit precious with this here in terms of this having a constant dig at Steve Lovell every time he says something in the press. Because the question I asked, and to Boz and Stocky and Reese and James, was, well, what if he plays on Saturday and last 20 minutes he bangs in one in the top corner and we draw 1-0 and Steve Lovell comes out and says something about him in the press then? Are we all going to moan about him talking about players in the press? No. If he's come out and he's gone, he was absolute toilet, he's getting fined a week's wages for that, and he's really, really had a pop, then fair enough, I'd say, no, you've crossed the line and that should be kept inside a dressing room or in the training ground. But he said he's going to sit down and have a chat. It's hardly Chinese torture, is it? You know what I mean? And I just think again, it comes back to what I said at the start of the video. There's been a bit of an overreaction to this defeat, I think, and it's, again, people concentrating on what the negatives are and trying to make something. And for me, it's a massive mountain out of a molehill. And I know all the boys disagree with me, and I think that's great. But because that's what we talk about football, and we all had a chat about it, but we done it in the right way, and no one fell out. And he says he has talent, no doubt. He has done it for in the past, and he will do it in the future. So he's telling everyone that DJ Oldaker is a good footballer. But he wasn't very good on Tuesday night. Not everyone was. There was very few that come out with that with much credit. It wasn't a great performance. Like I say, it was one of them where it weren't a very good game on both sides' part. And if we'd taken a 0-0, I'd have been more than happy with that in an average game. But we got beat by a really good strike. But so James said to me, oh, why is he not digging out Eves? Or why is he not digging out such and such? You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, it's out of order for him digging out DJ in the press, but it'd be okay if he comes out and digs out more. It's either all got to stay behind closed doors or I don't know. Bottom line is, I think a massive mountain's been made out of a tiny molehill. He said he's going to talk to him in his office and have a chat with him. He said he just thought he played with nerves and he wanted him to get on the ball and be more confident with it. And he says he's a good footballer. Done for me, to be quite honest. But let us know what your thoughts are, people. Is Steve Lovell out of order? Maybe I'll do a Twitter poll or something. Is he out of order? Has too much been made of it? Is it much ado about nothing? let us know. You know where to comment. YouTube down there, Facebook page, reply on Twitter. I'm always up for a chat and a discussion. It's good fun, isn't it? So anyway, that is enough about that. Saturday, as I've already mentioned, we travel to Kenilworth Road. We will be there for a match day live as we take on top of the league. I'm not sure I even want to do this preview, in all honesty. Oh, excuse me. Right, we'll get straight into it and get it out of the way, because we're going to just realise how hard this task is going to be when you see the stats. Right, last 6, Luton. 1-1, drawn 1, drawn 1. That's their crisis. That's their sticky patch, them 2 draws. They've taken 14 points from the last 18 in the league. Ours away, overall, it's not a disaster, like I've already said. 1 lost, 1 drawn, 1 lost. 3 wins and a draw, 2 defeats, 10 points from the last 18. I think it's got us about 8th in the form table over them last 6, which is fine. And if we do that over the next 6 or 8, then 10 points, we're going to be safe as houses. So for those that are saying, oh, we're banging trouble again, or those that were saying, oh, relegation's confirmed because Gabriel Zakuani got injured, I think we'd be fine. Home and away, their last 6 at Kenilworth Road pretty much mirrors their form overall. It is 4 wins, 2 draws, 18 points available, 14 points taken. And ours away is 8 points from 18, which is 2 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats. I'm sure it's that all the time. Our last defeat in the league was on Tuesday. Their last defeat in the league was the 13th of October. Yes, you have not heard that wrong. You do not adjust your TV or your phone or your tablet or whatever device you're watching this video on. Luton last lost in the league on the 13th of October, which is about 5 months ago, when they went down 3-2 to Barnsley. They've only dropped points in 2 of their last 10 games in League One. They score loads. They don't concede many. They've got a squad full of unbelievable quality, excellent depth. Can't wait. That'd be a good day out, wouldn't it? But I've written down here, it's a massive task, and I've said that about 18 times already in this video. I think we're going to have to draw on the spirit of Pompey this season, Pompey last season, Charlton last season, Rotherham last season. It's going to have to be one of our very best displays to win the game. It's going to have to be a very good display to get a point. If we're slightly off it and Luton aren't, we could be in for a very long 90 minutes. But we'll go there. As I say, we'll set up in the right way, and fingers crossed if we can put in a shift and put on a performance, and hopefully something magical will happen. But in terms of their squad, James Collins, Harry Cornick, Elliot Lee, Danny Hilton, they're all forward-thinking players. I don't think Danny Hilton hardly plays at the moment. That says how good they are. James Collins, I think, has got 26 in all competitions this season. Harry Cornick, completely different player to the one we saw when we had him on loan a couple of seasons ago. Plays as a centre-forward now. Out-and-out pace, bags of trickery. Will be a threat if he plays. Elliot Lee, as good as anything in the division. Midfield is strong. Andrew Shinney scored a really good goal at our place. Alan McCormack, loads of experience at this level. They brought in George Moncur and George Thorne in the January window from Barnsley and Derby respectively. So that's the level of players that they're getting in. I've written one word down here, frightening. They are at this level. Best team I've seen at the Priestfield. And I've seen Sunderland, I've seen Barnsley. Doncaster were very good. But for me, Luton, best team that I've seen us play. And the top for a very good reason. They're 5 points clear. Sunderland have a game in hand which will get them to 73 points. So for me, there's no way they're not going up automatically. But let's hope they have a massive off day Saturday. In terms of team news, no Gabriel Zakuani, no Billy Bingham. Ricky Holmes, it's just becoming a bit silly now, unfortunately. Was hopeful for last Saturday against Oxford. If not, it was going to be Tuesday. No sign of him Tuesday. Still no clarification on what's going on. There's not been a press conference yet from Steve Lovell this week. I think it's today, Friday, a day late because of the Tuesday game. So everything's been pushed back 24 hours. In terms of a team, I would make 2 changes from Tuesday night. Thomas Holy stays in goal. I'd keep the back 4. I don't think they were awful at all. And generally, they've been solid. That 4 or 5 if you include Thomas. So it'd be Luke O'Neill, Max Amer, Connor Ogilvie and Barry Fuller for me. I would make 2 changes in midfield. I would pull out Darren Oldaker and I would pull out Regan Charles-Cook. I would start Callum Riley at the base of the diamond. I don't want Mark Byrne to move back there because I think he's been a lot better from the right-hand side of the diamond, so that's where I'd play him. I'd get Leonardo da Silva Lopez back in from the left of the diamond, and I'd play Graham Burke as the number 10. Behind Tom Eaves and Brandon Hanlon. There are whispers that maybe Tom Eaves should have a game out of the limelight, so to speak. So is there a case for Elliot Lister to come in and partner Brandon Hanlon? But I think generally over a period of time, Eaves and Hanlon has been our best partnership, certainly in 2019. But yeah, I'm sure Listy will be chomping at the bit. Oh, that's 2 quotes I've used today that no one likes. I've used "we go again Saturday," chomping at the bit. Come over all Adrian Pennock. Substitutes bench for me will be Thomas Hadler, Bradley Garmston, Alex Lacey, Dean Parrott, Regan Charles-Cook, Tarvon Campbell and Elliot List. I've dropped Darren Oldaker out again. I know I spoke about it on Tuesday and thought that it was weird that he either starts or he isn't in the 18 at all, but I just think after the comments this week, and he'll just probably need a Saturday away, and that's not because I think Steve Lovell's done anything wrong in what he said. I just think get Darren Oldaker out of the limelight, give him a week off, get his head right again, and then we get him back involved maybe next week at Wimbledon. Score prediction. I'm very glass half full all the time, you know that, and I try to be positive, and I don't like to predict losses. And I think the weirdest thing this season is, the frustrating thing is where we are, and in terms of, I think the squad should be winning more games than it does, and but I am going to predict a defeat this weekend. I'm going to say Luton 3, Gillingham 1. I just think they're so much better than so many teams in this division that it's almost not an impossible task. Of course it isn't, but I just can't reiterate enough how hard this is going to be. So I'm going to say Luton 3, Gillingham 1. I'm going to go for Max Amar to score our goal from a corner header. Don't know what that was. Right, that's enough of me rabbiting on. As always, thanks for watching and listening to me. 3 of us will be there Saturday at Kenilworth Road, me, Boz and Stocky for the Matchday Live, which we're looking forward to. We will see you at the ground. I know there's quite a lot of us going, which is great. Like I said earlier in the video, comment down below on YouTube. Keep telling everybody about us, Gills fans, League One fans. Get them subscribing. Support is always appreciated. Yeah, that's enough from me. We'll see you Saturday. Until next time, up the Gills.